The sense of pride that players feel when overcoming these obstacles is a fundamental part of the experience. If we lowered the difficulty, we would take that happiness away from the game, and in my view, would break the game itself. This is what Miyazaki had to say a couple days ago in an interview. And now that Shadow of the Erdtree has dropped, what Miyazaki said here is extremely important. If you haven't seen, people are review bombing Shadow of the Erdtree, and it's either for one of two reasons. The first reason is that it's not running very well, which I haven't had any performance issues, but I think if someone is having really bad performance issues, then that is a legitimate problem. But also, a lot of them are just complaining that the bosses are too hard. And I will admit, these bosses are extremely difficult, but they are not too hard. There's one that I think is an actual bad boss, which is Commander Gaius. But other than that, every boss I've fought is extremely fair and really well designed. I'm not going to spoil the last boss, but I will be talking about some other bosses, and if you haven't played the DLC, you may not want to watch. But people are really mad at these bosses because they are extremely difficult, and people are saying they're overtuned. But these people are also the same people who don't like the Erdtree fragment system. For example, this is a random review I found. I mean, it just doesn't really make too much sense to me. It's not supposed to be a DLC where you just completely breeze through all the bosses. If they didn't add a separate leveling system, that would be really, really weird. And for the people that are just completely ignoring the Erdtree fragments to level up and then saying that the bosses are too hard, you don't make any sense at all. That's like me playing Elden Ring and then not using any of the runes to level up to fight the bosses and then complaining that I'm getting destroyed by the bosses. It just doesn't make any sense. It's got to be one of the worst arguments against a game or a DLC I think I've ever heard in my entire life. But this all reminds me of a conversation I had with a mystery man a couple days ago. I'm not going to say his name, but you guys probably know him. He believes that Elden Ring should have an easy mode. And there's a lot of reasons I disagree, but I'll go over a couple of them for today, and I'll see if he says anything in response to this video, because I told him I was going to make this video. Anyway, wanting the bosses to be easier or adding an easy mode is just not a good idea. One of the main reasons that people play Souls games is because they're hard. There's people that say adding an easy mode would take away nothing. That is not true at all. And Miyazaki literally says this. One of the big selling points of playing a Souls game is whenever you fight a boss that is hard and you finally beat that boss, you get an immense feeling of satisfaction and maybe even a confidence boost. As soon as you add an easy mode, again, as Miyazaki said, that type of stuff completely goes away. Now, I understand the argument that people with disabilities should be able to play the game as well, but I have to say, there are some people that have disabilities and it makes it harder for them to play Souls games, but they still play and beat them. And I think those people are way cooler than me. Souls games are art. There's no reason to add an easy mode when you know that the game is all about being extremely difficult. You could say you'd want to play the game for other reasons, but literally 95% of the reasons you'd be playing the game does stem from the difficulty. The combat does, the bosses do, the areas, the exploration. If you think Elden Ring is too hard, the game isn't for you. You shouldn't buy a $60 game that is completely known for being extremely difficult and then get surprised and then say that the game needs an easy mode whenever the game is difficult. And the same thing applies to the people that are playing the Elden Ring DLC that are leaving negative reviews because it's too difficult. I don't understand how you could play the original base game and then go into a DLC that's been taking 2 years to make and expecting yourself to be able to breeze through it without any problems. In short, get good.